What is up, guys? We are back in vintage gym, and today is going to be an arm workout. Now, your arms can grow in several different ways, so several different workouts can be done for them, but today we're going to do an all free weight arm workout. This is actually how I started growing my arms, and the biggest muscle group I had when I was starting out were my arms already. So free weights definitely work for the arm development, especially when you look at the 70s and the 80s. A lot of those guys worked their arms with dumbbells and barbells, like Arnold, for example. So those put the proof in the pudding that training with free weights is possible to create massive arms. So let's get started with the first movement. And by the way, we're going to work the biceps and the triceps in this workout, starting out with the most basic, most popular movement for the arms imaginable, the barbell curl. As you can see right here, we have an empty barbell, always starting out with a light weight. And what you also want to do is you want to grab this barbell using shoulder width. So if you have a mirror, for example, you want to grab this barbell with your wrists, elbows, and shoulders in one line. So when you go up, it feels quite natural and smooth to do. And what you really want to feel, of course, you want to go all the way down, but you go all the way up, you feel the enormous squeeze here, because the squeeze will cause a bicep to grow the most. To get a peaky, big bicep, we always warm up with like 10 to 15 reps, making sure the biceps are nice and warm before moving on to a heavier weight. Honestly, the barbell curl used to be, and still is, one of my favorite bicep movements. Of course, this gym is now full of machines with which you can train all muscle groups as well. But this gym used to be empty and only free weights. The dumbbells, the barbells, and some body weight exercises were available here. And that's how I actually won my pro card in 2018, the first classic physique show in Europe. So it is very possible to build your physique to a pro level using only free weights. So if you only have free weights available, or it's very busy at your gym and you still have dumbbells and barbells available, this workout is very possible. Biceps, even though they can look big, are still a small muscle group compared to the rest of your body. So you don't want to go too heavy, otherwise you're going to swing, you're going to use your shoulders, other muscles, injure yourself. Is that what we want? No. We just want big biceps. So again, about shoulder width, squeeze, and go all the way down. So I noticed on the previous set, I could do a lot of reps, probably 20 plus. And the working set rep range should be around 10 to 15, not less than 10 because that's going to be too heavy, but also not more than 15 because if you go way higher, it's not going to be a real focus for hypertrophy, but it's going to be more lactic acid buildup. It's going to be more difficult to finish a true failure set. So around 10 to 15 usually works the best for bicep and arm growth in general. So you really focus in between the 10 and 15 rep range to truly fill those biceps to grow. Okay. Now, as you saw, I started to fail. I could have done a few more sloppy reps, but that's not what you want to do. Arms, if you want quality big arms, don't mess up the reps with momentum. Finish to a failure with your form breaking down, and then you simply stop the set. You might want to save that energy for the next set rather than wasting it on half injury-prone reps. A lot of people ask me also about rest times. It depends per person, but you should only do the next set when you feel ready. So here it's not going to be, oh, I'm out of breath, but it's more going to be, do you still feel lactic acid in the muscle? Do you feel the muscle is ready for the next set? Only then should you go for the next set, because otherwise you will fail a few reps before hitting the actual failure point. So always wait a little bit. And I actually decreased the weight on this working set number 2 because I did around 11 reps previously. And I know if I do it again now, I might go below 10. So to stay in between 10 to 15, lowering the weight to make sure quality reps are being done. In terms of the amount of sets per exercise, I would go at least 2 to 3 working sets. Don't go too much more because you want more variety, as bodybuilding is all about hitting the muscle from as many angles as possible. Now, I like to start every arm workout with the biceps and the triceps, the first exercise being a major one. So the biceps, obviously the most known one, the barbell curl, and this one, the most known one, the French press or the skull crusher. But I call it the French press, it's slightly different. Let me show you. So you grab a easy curl bar, and this is going to be a Ronnie Coleman variation. If you watch that video, you know what I mean. So a skull crusher would be, you grab the barbell slightly less wide than shoulder width, and then you literally let it drop to your skull, to your forehead, and then you go back up. However, a better variation would be to also stretch the long head of the tricep to go past your head instead of over your head, and then push it up like that. You keep constant tension on the triceps, and it's less gruesome on the joints, on the elbows, because a lot of people have elbow problems with this movement. And if you do all the way like this, there's a lot of tension on the elbows. Moving in here shifts the tension to the triceps, away from the elbows, and then you refocus on the stretch here. Don't try to fully contract, just focus on the bottom part. So first you do around 10 to 12 reps like this in the typical French press fashion, and then you move to here, and then you go into a small grip or narrow grip bench press like this. So you kind of do a superset in between the French press and the small grip bench press in order to truly fill those triceps with blood. And again, both these sets within the superset, 10 to 12 reps. And this is a Ronnie Coleman variation. Now, Ronnie Coleman, in my opinion, has one of the best triceps in the history of bodybuilding. Who needed a front level bicep, his tricep is hanging very low. And I believe this is one of those movements that contributed to that tricep mass. And honestly, I loved seeing him do it in his documentaries, and I did it with him even last year. After the RL Classic, which was an amazing experience, so this is definitely a staple for you guys to try out. Next one, a true old school movement, the preacher curl. Arnold used to love this. Pretty much everybody with big biceps loves this movement, including myself. I used to do this quite a lot back in the day. You know, when I started at the gym, this is one of the first bicep movements I learned to do. And I have a variation that I really like. So most people like to do this shoulder width, like the barbell curl I showed at the beginning. But I like to do it a bit more closer together. The more close your hands go together, the more the tension shifts to the outside of the bicep, which is the bicep peak. You have two bicep heads, the inside and the outside. And you kind of want the outside to be bigger than the inside, which is what I've always preached. No pun intended. So you want to grab it, kind of in the middle curve right here. So not here, but actually in the middle, very close to the center. And because then you want to put your elbows close together. And right here, that peak contraction you feel should be incredible, guys. If you don't feel it, practice it, because that's what you want to feel when you're posing as well. So go all the way down, feel the stretch, all the way up, and here that peak contraction is just unexplainably good. So all the way down, and a big difference here also compared to the barbell curl is you get a good stretch here. With the barbell curl, you can simply let the barbell hang with your arms and you don't feel anything. Here, there's still tension at the bottom. That's the biggest difference, but also the unique squeeze you feel here. So it's really a complete bicep builder. And as always, start the movement, the exercise with a lighter weight. Do it a couple of reps. Feel out, okay, I can do quite a lot of reps here, using a bit heavier to stick within that 10 to 15 rep range again. I'm not going too heavy at all because this is a very injury sensitive movement if you go too heavy. When you get a bicep injury, 9 out of 10 it can happen on the preacher curl. So it is a very good exercise, but if you do it wrong, it can also ruin your biceps. So don't do that. Just stick to 10 to 15 reps. Good, slow, controlled form. And also here, 2 to 3 sets max. Use the really feel a good pump and squeeze in the bicep even after you're finished, because then you know, when you see the vein, you know something is happening with blood in the muscle. When blood is in the muscle, nutrients, oxygen, all of that stuff goes in for growth. Once again, and I'm gonna keep repeating this because it's very important, the weight doesn't matter. You don't have to do more weight than the next guy who has twice the small arms as you, basically. So your arms can be a lot bigger than the next guy, and you can see him lift more weight, and you might feel pressure to match him. Don't, because you want to have longevity in the bodybuilding scene, and you want your muscles to be quality and not just messed up, torn, injured. You don't want that. I've been through that almost several times back in the day when I did PRs in every single muscle group. I was young, so I recovered, but it's not worth it, guys. Anyway, let's move on to the next movement. And as you noticed, I've been doing biceps, triceps, biceps, triceps. So we're alternating in between muscle groups to get the most blood filled in the muscle possible in the whole arm. Because the moment you contract the bicep, the tricep is stretching. The moment you contract the tricep, the bicep is stretching. That gives you a synergistic effect for more pump. Okay, the next one, I'm going to use the overhead dumbbell extension. This is a unilateral movement, as I think even with free weights, it is important to do movements with one arm at a time. This gives you the opportunity to work on a weak point first. For example, if your left arm is smaller than the other, you want to start with the left one and then match the reps with the right one. So for me, the left one is always a bit weaker, so I start with the left, then match with the right. Now I'm sitting in a Smith machine because we don't have a preacher bench downstairs or a small bench for a back support. So I'm simply using this as a back support, but if you have a small bench with a small back support, you can use that, of course, or you can use it without, but you know, we're training the arms here, not the core. So what you want to do, simply put the dumbbell behind your head, go for the full stretch, and don't go all the way up like this because you put a lot of tension on the elbow. So go all the way down, all the way up for about 80% and then go back down again. This is purely in this smooth motion for the stretch and to get blood into that long head, the tricep. And this, by the way, is another old school Arnold or even Ronnie Coleman movement. A lot of those guys used to do free weight tricep movements like this. And one tip I can give you, so when you're doing a dumbbell extension like this, you want to grab kind of like, when you're doing this motion, you want the dumbbell top to be right here. So you want to grab it at the bottom because you turn like this, and then the dumbbell itself is touching your hand, and then you don't have to grip the dumbbell as much. So you can just let it rest on your hand this way. And it's much easier to then do the movement because we're not training the forearms right now, we're training the triceps. So in my opinion, grabbing at the bottom, then turning it like this is a much easier way to perform this movement than grabbing it right in the middle and having to grip it really hard. Time for the next one. As I take one of my last sips of my intra workout, I really want to say, a lot of people might not believe in an intra workout, but I certainly do, because through the end of the workout, you want to have the same energy as at the beginning. Because a lot of people train the chest or the back first and then the arms. And why are your arms small? You're not putting as much energy into your arms as at the beginning of the workout. So an intra workout, such as the ESN Intra, actually proves, it's been proven in the literature and it's logical as well, that you can top off your glycogen stores the whole way throughout the workout. So the energy at the beginning is replenished throughout the workout. So at the end, you still have the glycogen, the energy stores available to do a lot more reps in the workout so you can actually grow more muscle. And also put some EAAs in here. So even if you haven't eaten for 3-4 hours, you're not going to be catabolic, you remain anabolic, which will promote muscle growth, more strength, more performance, and ultimately more progress in the gym. One of my favorite movements and one of Arnold's favorites and your favorite as well if you want big bicep peaks is of course going to be the free weight concentration curl. It is called a concentration curl because you can truly focus on that bicep peak at the top. Just look at this. You can do this seating or standing. I like it in a seated position as your lower back then won't be impaired. So you just want to put your upper arm on your leg like this, kind of like a preacher curl, and then go all the way down, stretch the bicep. But when you go up, guys, when you go up, you truly squeeze. That squeeze right now, guys, it's unbelievable. I feel it more on the outside as well for the bicep peak. That's why it's called a concentration curl, because you can truly concentrate on the peak contraction. So here, again, 10 to 15 reps. I like to stick more to the 15 rep range here, just to make sure your form stays intact and the peak contraction stays there as well. If you go too heavy, that contraction will fade, and that's the whole point of this movement, to get a very good peak contraction and squeeze in that muscle. So just like the triceps, this is a unilateral movement. At least one of those movements I want to do for each muscle group. So here again, I started with the left side and then the right side to be able to match each rep, each set basically, to make sure the muscle will stay on either side as big as each other. Oh, yeah. Oh. At the end of each bicep exercise, you really should feel that good pump in the biceps. If you don't, go lighter, focus on the mind-muscle connection, as that is maybe a broad term, but every time a bodybuilder has used the mind-muscle connection, somehow they got big muscles, so it must work. All right, this is going to be the dumbbell skull crusher, but once again, not really gonna crush the skull, we're just gonna stretch the triceps out. And here we are actually gonna go for a contraction, but in a slightly different way. Let's check it out. So first, 2 dumbbells, just like this. You wanna make sure the bench is a little bit on an incline for a better stretch. Then what you wanna do is bring the dumbbells kind of past your head, kind of further away. You're feeling that you're going down and up at the same time, and you're going up and back. So going down and back and up and back. So you're not staying here, you're actually going all the way back here for a better stretch in the tricep. And the contraction, I just did it like this, but we're gonna finish it off. But actually here you have the stretch, go all the way up, and here you get a good contraction. So there is a squeeze component in this workout for the triceps, and it actually feels a lot better, this movement, than just focusing on the stretch, in my opinion. And also here, 10 to 15 reps. You can do this slightly heavier, once again, as the triceps are stronger and bigger than the biceps. But you don't want to go too heavy, because then your elbows might get messed up. By the way, if you want to be able to show your arms off in the best possible way, you should give Able a shot, the cheapest possible tank tops and shirts and all other clothing for the highest possible quality. With code Wesley, you support me and yourself at the same time. And as always, thank you for the incredible golden support. And don't forget to tune in to my Instagram and my YouTube channel to see the new Dutch Oak line coming very soon. Oh, ooh. That was my free weight arm workout. You don't want to do too much volume for the arms, because that's still a small muscle group. And at the same time, whenever you're training chest and the back, you can kind of view it. For example, when you're doing a row, every row counts for half a set for the biceps. Whenever you do a press, it counts for half a set for the triceps. So it's not like you're not training your arms at all when training the major muscle groups, but if you train arms separately, they will grow for sure, and this workout will get you there, definitely. Let me know what you think of this workout down below and which other muscle groups you want to see. And of course, thank you for the golden support, and don't forget to stay golden.